The Vanity Fair salacious article that came out yesterday. I want to set the table a little bit on this. One, Susan Wiles, who is Trump's chief of staff, is notoriously you don't talk to her. She doesn't want the attention. There was some drama with DeSantis when DeSantis thought she was getting too much attention, and she was like, I don't need this energy. I'm gonna just do my job. So the fact that Vanity Fair had access to the White House chief of staff and the administration over 11 months, or a year, doing over 11 interviews with Susan Wiles is kind of crazy. On the record interviews. Also, chief of staffs typically just go on deep background. You're just giving some filler information to the journalist about what the vibe is, essentially. Boy, oh boy. This article.
Yeah, she was really acting like a chief of staff on the way out or someone who has already left office rather than someone who's in the middle of a failing administration. She's giving the tell-all in the middle of the event rather than in the testimonial on the reality show after the fact. She's doing it in real time over the course of these 11 months. And some of the things that she's dropped, she compared Trump to an alcoholic. She said that J.D. Vance has been a conspiracy theorist for 10 years. She talked about Elon Musk microdosing. It's a wild, wide-ranging condemnation of large parts of the administration.
Yeah, and I don't really think she viewed it as a condemnation. I think she viewed it as these are just the facts. And it kind of looked like she was in the J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio 2028 battle, propping up Marco Rubio a little bit over J.D. Vance. She said that his conversion from Trump critic to political ally was sort of political and not really on principle. She called Russell Vought, who we all know is architect of Project 2025, a right-wing absolute zealot.
And that's right.
Attorney General Pam Bondi completely whiffed the Epstein file.
Yeah,
work.
I will say that for her, to your point, to think that this is not a really big deal to say a lot of this stuff, or that it's not a condemnation of the administration, shows how deep into MAGA world these people have fallen in a way that they can't see sort of mainstream normal reality anymore. They've sworn off all normal outlets as fake news. Mm-hmm. They don't talk to anyone that they disagree with. Mm-hmm. They surround themselves with yes men and sycophants, and therefore think that anything that they do is brilliant, genius, never been done before, couldn't be better.
Right.
When in reality, having someone with absolutely zero accountability appointed to a position with powers over the entire federal government who's regularly microdosing illegal drugs is actually not normal.
Right.
And shouldn't be normalized. I think back to the Biden administration when MAGA lost their minds over a tourist bringing a baggie into the White House. Do you remember that? It was such a scandal.
It was small bag of cocaine found.
Right. And meanwhile, you have given unprecedented power to someone who you are openly admitting is on drugs regularly, making decisions. And I think this is where MAGA falls apart. And the idea of MAGA falls apart is that people can see the reality that these are millionaires and billionaires who are doing illegal drugs, making deals for their personal wealth and personal businesses that are corrupting our government for personal gain and power, while all the working people have to play by the rules, would be fired for doing any of the things that these people are doing, and are totally forgotten about.
Yeah.
And that's where I see the opportunity, right? Is that people thought when they were voting for Trump that they were going to get this disruptor for them, that they wanted someone to disrupt the system on their behalf. And instead, what he's done is blown up the system in order to empty the piggy bank into his personal bank accounts, right? Where he's protecting big tech and these giant companies and Elon Musk, and not the person who's getting paid an hourly wage.
But I think that's something that's important about this Vanity Fair article. Yes, the photos are atrocious. Getting zoomed in on Carolyn Levitt's lip filler, I was shocked. She's 28 years old, by the way. I just want to, if anyone sees that photo, it is not kind. The skin does not look 28. But
Hate ages you.
Yeah, it rots you from the inside, and Vanity Fair made that very clear. But I think something that's important about this article, which I don't think is being as discussed as these salacious headlines, is that the typical role of the chief of staff in a White House or in the Senate or in any even executive office is to be a counterforce to the executive, to bring in different opinions, to challenge what the executive or the elected official is trying to accomplish. And I think that based on this article, Susan did try early days to say, hey, Trump, maybe you shouldn't pardon the most violent January 6th offenders. Or maybe Elon Musk shouldn't have free-wielding power over all government offices. And at a certain point, she just stopped. So she's now not pushing back. She's allowing all of this to happen. So there really is no checks and balances in our government, let alone in the White House, to tell Trump what you're doing is not actually helping working families and Americans. So it was juicy. I read it. I think everyone should read it.
Yeah. The other thing that Vanity Fair highlighted for me was that the Trump administration is stuck with the people that they have in office because they see any turnover in personnel as a loss, or like as giving up to the media or the establishment, to giving in. And that means that whenever something terrible happens and someone in the administration has made a huge mistake and should be fired, they double down on that person instead and bring them closer and closer. Kash Patel, really good example.
Pete Hegseth, a really good example, where it would actually advance their agenda to remove these people who are just objectively terrible at their job. But they can't because they've painted themselves into a corner like a child throwing a tantrum, where to correct your mistake is to admit defeat. And that's a very dangerous place to be governing from.